It's been a while since I last put myself on camera like this, but I thought I'd try making a video with a bit of a different format. So this is 5 things that I learned when I started to pursue art seriously. There's probably more than 5 things, but I made a list and these are a few which came to mind. Also, they're not in any order of importance. So the first one, a vision for the future. Now, personally, this is something that is always changing for me, and I think that's fine, but I guess the overall vision is to one day be able to support myself and live off my own creations. And I say creations because I don't know what they'll be. The way things are changing these days, will I still be drawing on paper in 20 years in the future? Who knows, but whatever form my art is in, I hope that I can support myself, and if I have other people to support as well, and I can do that, then that's good. And I know it's a lot to ask because it's no easy feat, but the only real way to understand if it's possible is to actually try. And so yeah, I guess that's sort of like a vision, right? And I know it's a bit vague. I should probably be a bit more clear and clarify how I'm going to get there. But I'm taking it in small steps. Like, that's almost like the overarching goal, and then underneath that there's some smaller goals which are part of the process in accomplishing and reaching the bigger goal, right? And when I started to get serious about my art, I found it very beneficial to be certain of my intentions. If you know where you need to go, then you can start figuring out an efficient and practical means of getting there. Whereas if you have no idea of what it is that you really want to achieve, then you are just aimlessly wandering around, going in the wrong directions and making decisions that are not really informed by what it is that you want. And so this vision that you have might be long term, and so it might help to create some smaller goals that also aim towards that. And one thing that has really helped me is this. This is well, I suppose it's a journal, but it's a bit cringe to call it that. So it's just a notebook, but I make lists and I create a schedule each day of the stuff that I have to do and the stuff that I have to finish, and then as I work through it, I tick them off. And yeah, it really helps me plan in advance and prepare for what I need to do each day. And I mean, I don't think I'm a really productive human being, but I try to be, and this has been helping me do that. I pretty much just write down anything in this book, anything that I think will be valuable and that is worth remembering. I even have some steps here about my own process, how I created certain artwork, and yeah, I just keep track of everything and write it down. So I suppose it's like a notebook. It's also kind of like a diary as well, because I sort of write down all of my thoughts and I try and keep a document of my experiences as I try and pursue what I'm trying to achieve. And yeah, it just helps to manage your thoughts and take them out of your head. And so I'd really recommend just getting a book and start putting stuff down on paper. And it will also help you save a lot of time because you know what you need to do. But that's enough of that. Yeah, try and create as much clarity as you can in terms of what you want to achieve. Live within your means and make sacrifices. So that's kind of like 2 separate things there, but I think I put them together because in order to sometimes live within your means, you need to make some sacrifices. And it pretty much means that the amount of money you spend each month is less than, or at least equal to, the amount of money that you earn each month. And that's easier said than done for different people. I know that people are in different positions in life and they have more responsibilities. They might have some other people to take care of. For me, personally, it's not too hard. I'm 23, I'm living at home with the parents, and so I have an opportunity to save some money and reduce what I spend. And it's rare that you will earn a lot of money from your art, and so the small amount of money that you do earn, if any, needs to go a long way. In a way, I see money as a way to buy time. Like, you need money to survive. you get money by working, and if you stop working, then you don't get money. But if you have some money saved up, then you can survive on that for some time, and you can use that time to do whatever it is that you want to do. And of course, the amount of time depends on the amount of money that you have saved up and how much you spend each month. But again, it goes back to living within your means. If you are just doing something that doesn't really require a lot of money each month, then you should be able to, stretch that a bit longer. I often try and save up a lot of the money that I earn from YouTube. Obviously, I have expenses, everybody does, but I look at it as a safety net, because if there ever comes a day when I'm not earning money, then I have something to fall back on, and I can use that to support myself until I figure something out. I get a lot of enjoyment out of making art and being creative, and so that's really been a priority in my life. I really don't get much pleasure out of buying materialistic things. I sometimes feel as if the basic needs are met and I'm able to, live somewhat comfortably, and I can also afford some time to be creative and make art or whatever it is, then that's enough for me. So anyways, sacrifices. What do we have to sacrifice in the present in hopes of a better future? When I was at university, I was studying architecture, which is a subject that demands a lot of time and energy, and I wanted to do that, but at the same time I also wanted to try and do YouTube. And I soon realised that in order for me to do both of those things, I would have to make use out of all of the time that I had, and anything that I did that wasn't in relation to those two things was a waste of time. Now, of course, they're not a waste of time. Going out, seeing friends, socialising, even getting rest and sleeping, all of that is necessary, and it's pretty important. Obviously, I realised that all of that stuff can even improve what you do, but at that time I was willing to reduce all of that stuff in an effort to do better and pursue those two things: a degree in architecture and a YouTube channel. And so that was no easy task. YouTube requires a lot of consistency in terms of quality and quantity, and there was definitely times when I failed to do that. And architecture, that takes a lot of effort. I was doing that course full time, and so there was definitely moments where I just wanted to give up. I had days where I was just burnt out. I would hit a wall, and I'd get so frustrated with myself because there was work that needed to be done, and there was never a point where I was ahead of the work, because there was no real end to it, and so there was always something that I could and should have been doing. And so every time I wanted to take a break, I felt guilty because I wasn't being productive and I wasn't really moving forward with these two things. And especially when it comes to YouTube, because you're in charge of that, you're responsible for how many times you want to upload and how much work you want to put into it. And with something that doesn't really have, a set limit, I mean, it was kind of the same with architecture, because I would do the work, but then there was always more that you was encouraged to do. There was never like a minimum amount. Well, there was, but I never felt good about just doing the minimum. I always wanted to go and do a bit more, and so I'd get myself worked up because it was sort of like I was fighting a losing battle sometimes. And so for most of this time there was like no balance. There was just this never-ending stream of work, and I think what really helped me do it all was the fact that I enjoyed doing it, and that's really important. It's important to enjoy what you do or what it is that you are trying to do. And I mean, you probably will do. Why would you want to sacrifice things and put a lot of time and effort into something that you don't enjoy doing, right? So if you enjoy doing it, then that sort of like makes up for a lot of the hard work that's involved, and it helps you get through those periods when things start to get a bit tough and you begin to question why you are even doing it. When I started YouTube, I was making videos because I enjoyed making them. And yeah, I mean, the incentive was there, the fact that one day I might be able to earn some money and get paid from doing this, but even without that, I would still do it because I would just do it for the enjoyment in doing it. And it was a way for me to create, to publish the stuff that I make and share it with the world. And like I said, money was useful because it allowed me to improve the content that I was creating, and it also meant that I would be able to support myself if I was to continue doing it. I think the reason why I went to university and I studied architecture was for security. If I needed to get a job, then I should be able to, and hopefully it would be something that I enjoyed doing, and so in a way it was something to fall back on. But yeah, that was my life for 3 years. I made a lot of sacrifices. I stopped, socializing as much. I started to remove things from my life. I didn't really spend a lot of time gaming as I used to before all of that, and these are the choices that I made in an effort to do the best that I could in trying to do both of these two things. I did have this concern though, that because I was dividing up my time and efforts into doing both of these two things, that I would only do average in both of them. Instead of going all in doing one thing and doing the best I could at that, I would be doing, I'd be going 50% in both. But that wasn't really the case, because eventually I realised that I had to put a bit more effort into the architecture stuff. One, because I was paying for that course, and two, because I really didn't want to retake the year. And so, eventually it was worth it. I graduated and I did well, and the YouTube channel is still about. I'm sort of in the process of picking that up now, because I did sort of step away from that in the last year when I was at university, but now I'm able to put a lot more time and attention into it. So figure out a way to monetize your work. Now, this is something that isn't really my strong suit. When it comes to money and stuff and financing, I've never really been that good at it, but I realised that it was necessary. I had to figure out a way to create some income to support what I wanted to do. And as I said, it's pretty challenging to make money from directly selling your art, at least at an early stage. Eventually you might get to the point where you can do that, but if your work isn't earning money, what do you do? For a long time, I worked a part-time job at a takeaway frying food, and it wasn't the most gratifying job, but I did enjoy it, and the money that I got from that really helped me in what it was that I was trying to do. I was able to afford some new equipment to improve the content that I was making on YouTube. Also, I was able to support myself a bit more from that money. And that's usually how it goes. A lot of artists tend to work part-time jobs. It might be something they don't necessarily enjoy doing, but they do that so that they can find the time and support themselves to do something they do enjoy doing. We have all heard the term starving artist. A lot of people assume that art, pursuing this isn't really a practical career choice. There's not a lot of money to be made, but that's not necessarily true, because there's a lot of jobs out there that do allow you to be creative and earn money from doing that. Like if you work in the industry, in games design for example, if you are a concept artist, then you are creating art, and if you are excited about the project you are working on, then that's great. There's a lot more creative jobs out there today than there ever has been, because of the way technology is improving and the way that everything is moving forward. Now, there's also a lot of competition, and that is another discussion in itself. But as I started to pursue art more seriously, I started to take money more seriously. Before I started YouTube, I would earn some money from my art by doing some commissions, but I really didn't get paid a lot from doing them. I had a part-time job, like I said, and I was also in university, and so I had a student loan. I was trying to save a bit of that, but again, it's different for everyone because everyone is in a different position. Eventually it got to the point where I was earning some money from the videos I was making online, and so that was enough to support myself. Again, live within your means. Everything you experience influences your work. Now, this is something that I've discussed on the podcast, and I've spoken about it before in previous videos, because I think it's a way for me to associate the art that I create with the life that I live. Your experiences through life are always informing everything you do. The way that you perceive something, because your perception is based on everything that you already know, because if you don't know something, then how can it inform anything? When you see something that inspires you, the reason it inspired you is because it resonated with you and had an effect. As a result, you might have an idea or a desire to create. And people are not inspired by the same things because people perceive everything differently. Something that inspires me might not inspire you because you are your own person. You have your own experiences and ways of thinking, and what's beautiful about that is the fact that you have this ability to create something that is unique. You have your own voice which is personal to you, and so when you create something, that process is personal. What you are creating is a product of you. Why do we take criticism to heart? It's because we take it personally. Someone comes along and judges something that you have invested a lot into. And sometimes the criticism is necessary and you can benefit from it in a positive way. You'll likely improve because of it, but again, that's another discussion. Now, we live in a time where we have this ultimate resource, the internet, and there's an endless amount of material that can influence your work. And yeah, you're experiencing everything through a screen, but there is still some value there. I mean, it might not be as beneficial as going out and witnessing things in person, but there's a lot more opportunity. I mean, we can see all of these other artists and we are able to connect with them, see what they are creating, learn from them. Education has changed for the better. Everything is at our fingertips, and so there is so much potential when it comes to being creative and being an artist. I don't think there's ever been a better time to be an artist. When I see and experience something that sparks up an idea, I try and capture it. Like, I'll try and remember it, or I'll probably write it down in this book, remember. But ideas are something to think about in themselves. I mean, they're pretty weird. Where do they come from, and how does an idea come to fruition when people act upon them? And what happens to the ideas that never get acted upon? Do they just die? Are they all in an idea graveyard waiting to be resurrected one day? Who knows? Because of the tools that are at our disposal now, you can actively search for something that might inspire you, and I think you should. I mean, my work is influenced by my own interests, the subjects that I draw, the way that I draw them. All of it is personal, and everything plays a part. Everything matters. And I know this was kind of a weird one, but it's something that I think about often. And yeah, let's move on. Believe in what you are doing, because not many people will. Now, this is the last one, and I did intentionally put this one last because I think it's kind of a positive way to conclude this video. Over the last few years, I've come to understand that if you are going to make an attempt to be successful at something that is often considered very challenging, then you need to be prepared for what's involved. Obviously, right? But these kind of choices are often seen as being unconventional, and a lot of people will assume that it's not possible. And they are probably right in thinking that, but they're not the ones that are trying to do it. And trying to do something is a lot more respectable than not even trying. And if you have failed, it means you have tried. And there will be a lot of failures. I used to just disregard anything that I would consider negative, stuff that I would hear, like blocking out the noise, right? But now I kind of like it, because it reminds me that what I am doing is pretty challenging, and I take pride in the fact that I'm willing to give it a go. I also think that it grounds me a little bit. Like, I don't want to be delusional. But even in terms of the artwork that you create, you need to believe in that. And in a way, you need to be your biggest fan, because if not you, then who, right? I don't want to drag on. That's a somewhat positive way to end this video. So I hope you found this helpful, and I'll probably end up thinking of some more stuff that I could have spoken about in this video. So if you want me to do another one of these, then I can do. Just be sure to like the video, and if you're new here, subscribe to keep up to date with the content that I upload. Also, if you want to listen to me talk about stuff like this more in depth, then I recommend checking out the podcast that I do. I upload those videos on the YouTube channel as well. But yeah, other than that, keep on drawing, keep on creating, doing whatever it is that you love to do, and I will see you in the next video.